Pennsylvania Rock Show! Welcome to the Pennsylvania Rock Show Flashback. Step into the DeLorean, fire up the flux capacitor, and head back in time. Pennsylvania Rock Show! Flashback!
Welcome to Pennsylvania Rock Show Flashback. This is like take 5,346 because things weren't working and we switched computers and this computer isn't really set up for it. So bear with me. With me tonight is Maleena from Chipping the Charge Ups, Never Say Die, and her solo project. So Maleena, I'm probably going to ask completely different things.
That's fine.
But we are going to flash back to 2020 with your album Bruises to Prove It, and probably the most appropriate song ever on the show. You want to take it from there?
Yeah, so the song that we are going to listen to is my song Flashbacks off of my album Bruises to Prove It, which came out in 2020.
Very cool. So tell me a little bit about the recording process that went on with that album.
Yeah, so this album came out in 2020, and 5 of the 6 tracks on this album, including Flashbacks, were recorded with Mike Ofka at Innovation Studios, and the other track was recorded at Mr. Small's recording studio. The recording process started when I was 17 years old and wrapped up when I was 18 in 2020, and Flashbacks, which we were about to listen to, is the first song that I ever wrote.
Very cool. So we're going to go ahead and listen to that, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back to Pennsylvania Rock Show Flashback. With me this evening is Maleena from Chipping the Charge Ups, Never Say Die, and her solo project. But we're not going to talk about any of those things right now. If you are watching the video, you will see kind of a collage behind her, and that's going to be my segue into her new project, which is 2 parts, and I'm going to be quiet and let her tell you about it.
Yeah, so the project that I'm talking about is called City Setlist, and there are 2 parts to this project. The first part is a documentary, which is available on YouTube. It is 48 minutes long, and it includes interviews with myself and 8 other participants talking about the Pittsburgh music scene, and that came out on March 22nd. And the second part of this project is a book called Steel City Setlist, Navigating the Pittsburgh Music Scene. So it is, again, about the Pittsburgh music scene. It's not about any specific bands or specific venues in the Pittsburgh music scene, but it is more about the community and the structure involved in the music scene. And it goes over a lot of different things, including my own personal experiences in the music scene. I cover everything from the people in the scene. I talk about generations of music, which is my family history in the music scene. I talk a lot about festivals, particularly Millvale Music Festival. I talk about being a local opener for national shows. the different sub-scenes within the greater Pittsburgh music scene. I talk about the youth in the scene and the programs that are in place to really support those musicians, as well as underrepresented voices and the structure that we have to support them. And then the last 2 chapters are called Why These Connections Should Matter. And the final chapter is called A New Perspective, which was everything that I learned from doing research and interviews in the Pittsburgh music scene. So the conclusions that I learned, and some ideas of what I think would make the Pittsburgh music scene a better place.
Very cool. What brought this on? Why did you sit down and write this book and do the documentary for that matter?
Yeah, so this all started as a school project. It started in an English 102 class, which is just a regular class that every college student has to take. It's an English class that has more of a focus in writing. And so the research project was an autoethnography, which is something that I had never heard of before at the time, but it's basically an ethnographic study, which is the study of a subculture combined with insider perspective. So that would be like combining research, qualitative research with my own personal perspectives. And so everybody in the class got to choose whichever sub culture they wanted to write about or that they were involved in. So naturally, I chose the Pittsburgh music scene, being involved in it for nearly 10 years myself. And that project was we were required to interview 2 people and do at least 1 or 2 observations. And I ended up going way above and beyond with this project. I ended up interviewing 16 people for that initial project and doing way more observations. So because of that, my professor encouraged me to turn this into a much larger project. She encouraged me to take her creative writing class, where the final project was to have like a full-length book of any genre. And so I decided to do that, which ended up giving me opportunities to interview even more musicians and people involved in the scene. So I ended up interviewing over 30 people for this project and going out to different shows and different events for these observations, literally every single free moment that I could when there was an event going on. So that's how the book ended up going from a research paper to a 180-page book. And that was an honors class, which also, because it was an honors class, required me to do an additional visual element to go along with the book. And that could mean different things for different students. But for the visual element that I chose, I decided to do a documentary, which is what I released on March 22nd last month. And that is available on YouTube now.
And I did watch it. And on one of our other takes, I was telling you that I remember actually being at the one story that you were talking about at Millvale, where I didn't tell you this, and I got chased down the street by a 10 by 10 tent during that storm.
Oh no.
And I'm not exactly fast or small, so it just missed me.
It's crazy. Wow. That was a crazy day.
It was. And I ran into you guys a couple times throughout the day when you had no idea where you were going to end up playing. And then I ended up in the same place at the very end of the day, because the band I was going to take pictures of, Murder for Girls, were playing before you. And there were no drums, to give a little bit of the story away. But someone did save the day. And to find out who, watch the documentary and buy the book. And speaking of, where can they get a copy of the book?
So the book will be available on April 18th. I am doing a book release event at the Guitar Shop PGH. That event starts at 3 p.m. and I will have physical copies of the book available for purchase, and we will be watching the documentary as well. The event will have general Q&A. You can ask me anything about it and get a copy of the book. And after that, it will be available on my website and it will be available on Amazon.
Very cool. So normally at this point in the show, we would have talked about a new song. And I'm we're not going to talk about how it was recorded or who was involved, but why don't you tell us what song we're going to listen to now?
All right, so the next song that I chose is Where I Fit In by my band Chip and the Charge Ups. And I chose this song because it reflects really closely with what my book is about the community of the Pittsburgh music scene and finding that place where you really feel like you belong and you matter, and where random strangers can turn into family members. And the song is even quoted in the book about why those connections matter so much.
Very cool. I do want to say that 2020, for sure, I'm trying to think what year. I've known you longer than that, for sure. The one thing that pops into my head is at Rock for Life when you tried to convince me to dye my beard pink, which did not happen.
There's still time.
There may be dye coming soon because there's an awful lot of gray in there, but I don't know if it'll be pink. Everyone should head to musicbymaleena.com. There's information there on both the April 18th release, and you can find the documentary there and information about her solo shows. Is there anything there about the other two bands?
There will be links to the other websites on my website.
And with that, Maleena, I want to thank you for hanging out with me and bearing with the technology issues.
Thank you so much for having me.
And now we're going to listen to Chip and the Charge Ups. And make sure you join us each and every week for a new episode of the Pennsylvania Rock Show Flashback.